Welcome back to the land of amazing weather, beautiful beaches, and of course, politics. This video is actually going to be the video that answers a question that some people just end up getting on their Google search about moving here to the state of Florida. And it's going to be all the unique ways that you can actually die in our state and how our state may actively try to kill you. So this has all the information you need to know of the unique Floridian ways to die. And make sure you stick towards the end of the video because it's going to give probably one of the most scariest ways you can die, and even the Florida natives don't even know about it. Because I did my research, I asked everybody about these things, have they heard of them? And that last one really got people by surprise. And starting off with number one, and probably the most obvious one, is going to be hurricanes. So our particular state gets hit with hurricanes practically every other year, it seems like. And they can range from a category 1 all the way to a category 5 hurricane. Most of these hurricanes are going to be mundane, nobody's going to get hurt, but when they are serious, that's when you're going to see them on national news. You're going to have this guy named Jim Cantore. If you don't know Jim Cantore and you move to Florida, you're eventually going to meet Jim Cantore. He goes to the worst spots of the hurricane impact. So if Jim Cantore's coming to your city, pro tip, definitely leave, get out. It's going to be bad and it's going to be deadly. So while hurricanes don't hit every single year, when they do hit, hundreds of people can actually die from these. So one of the last major hurricanes that hit Florida was Hurricane Ian, and it hit the southwestern part of our state. And what's unique about hurricanes that you'll eventually realize is that it's not actually the wind that kills most people. What kills most people is going to be the extreme flooding that these hurricanes can cause, especially these major hurricanes like Ian. So from Hurricane Ian, there was about over 100 deaths from this one incident, but about 60% of the people who unfortunately passed away died due to drowning. And one of the most devastating incidents in Florida that was a result of a hurricane was in the late 1920s when a major hurricane slammed into that big lake at the very end tip of Florida. It caused over 2,500 people to lose their lives, mainly due to flooding, and that they weren't aware of how bad this hurricane was actually going to be. Now, hurricane forecasting has gotten much better, so we have a lot of time to prepare for these major hurricanes. You actually know what flood zone you're in. There's a lot more research that goes into housing development and construction of these newer homes. So the risk of dying from an actual hurricane has drastically decreased from the early 1920s, but it is nevertheless still a threat. As we saw in Hurricane Ian, people drowned because they weren't aware of how sudden the increase of water can actually be into their neighborhoods, into their homes, and by that time it's too late. And the second most common reason of deaths due to hurricanes is actually the people themselves. So after the hurricane hits, a lot of people want to go outside, look around, assess the damage, trying to repair their roofs or help their neighbors with fallen trees. And that's where the second most common percent of people dying from hurricanes occurs. It occurs from people trying to rebuild or assess the damage outside shortly after the hurricane has hit. So if you just got hit by a massive hurricane, you're walking outside for the first time, just remember it's still very wet and windy. If you got that chainsaw, accidents can occur, and that's where the hospitals get absolutely flooded with people right after the hurricane. Number two most unique way of dying in the state of Florida is going to be our problems with sinkholes, especially the center part of Florida, known as the sinkhole capital of the entire world. It's right there by Ocala, Gainesville, and Orlando. There's a tendency of the ground just to start sinking down rapidly. And this is absolutely probably one of the scariest ways to actually die in Florida because you have absolutely no warning. You don't know if there's an active sinkhole right below you until it starts gobbling up the earth below. Now, to me, it kind of reminds me of the movie Tremors for some odd reason when stuff is coming out of the ground and killing people. So there's been multiple incidents of people dying in their sleep. So they're at their home, they're sleeping peacefully, and a sinkhole that they had no idea about just pops up overnight, gobbles up their house while they're asleep. There was this incident of a guy. So there's a story of a guy who was sleeping in his house overnight. In the middle of the night, while he's sleeping, a hole just opened up on the bottom of his house, and it opened up about 20 to 50 feet deep down and gobbled up him, his bedroom, everything while he was sleeping. And still, they have not found the body. Now, what they did, they evacuated the entire area, that neighborhood where his house was located. Just imagine being a neighbor and your neighbor next to you just got gobbled up by a sinkhole. Would you sell your house? Would you? You might. They fenced off the area, and about 13 years later, the sinkhole just randomly opens up again out of nowhere, basically a sinkhole revenge. And to me, it's probably one of the scariest ways to pass away. And also, a lot of home insurances, if you actually read the fine print, don't actually cover sinkholes. So if your house gets damaged, your foundation gets completely crushed or destroyed by a sinkhole, your insurance may not even cover the damage. So make sure when you're signing for your insurance, you work with somebody who knows what they're doing, because these sinkholes can be a dangerous problem here in our state of Florida. Now remember, these sinkholes are rarely deadly, but when they do cause death, they are all over the news and they strike fear in people every single day. Again, if you live in one of these neighborhoods where somebody just died of a sinkhole, how well are you going to be sleeping knowing you might have a sinkhole underneath your house as well? Because when they tend to occur in these big clusters, so it could happen to your house, and that fear will stay with you every single day. Number 3 most Floridian way to die is going to be of a shark attack. So if you love our beautiful beaches, most likely you're going to want to get in the water, swim, enjoy, surfing, boogie boarding, floating in the water. To me, I absolutely love it. But in the past few years, the water temperatures in Florida have been going up tremendously compared to other years. So I was filming this video, we were in July, but it feels like late August, late, September temperature of the water. You get in there, it kind of feels like bath water already. And what's causing, so experts think that the increased temperature of our waters around here in South Florida are causing the sharks to come closer and closer to shore to find cooler water. Because this is something that's been drastically different in the past, say about 3 to 5 years, is that the sharks are being sighted closer and closer to the shore than ever before. If you go online, there's countless videos of sharks coming all the way up to like ankle deep water with their fins completely out of the water, and it's getting kind of scary. Now, experts are saying that yes, there's a drastic increase of shark sightings, but the amount of unprovoked attacks haven't actually gone up. But taking consideration this past 4th of July weekend over here in South Florida, now to me, that information of just 3 shark attacks back to back on one particular holiday, it's got me thinking like, hey, have they just not analyzed the data yet? Or is this going to be something that's going to get worse moving on in the future? Again, the experts will get on TV like, look, there's only going to be about 16 shark attacks this year. And that's the average every single year. But to me, it doesn't look promising. And when you go in the water, especially winter time here in South Florida, the sharks are just right there, right on the edge. And a lot of people are surfing, swimming out there, and they don't even see the sharks in the water. And to me, that's probably one of the scariest things, because you don't know what's coming. Now, staying in the water, number 4 is going to be our riptides. If you don't know what riptides are, there's area of water where the wave will come in and it will get pulled back out. And it kind of looks like this water is actually less wavy in other areas. So newbies to the area will be like, hey, I'm going to swim out there with my elderly grandparents or my kids, and everything's going to be fine. But this is probably one of the worst places to actually swim in the water, because the water's actually pulling you out to sea. And a lot of people unfortunately drown because they get stuck in these rip currents and they can't outswim it. So they'll actually try to fight it, trying to swim back to shore. But if you swim directly to the shore, you're never actually going to outswim the riptide. And a lot of people die because they either fatigue and drown, or they get so panicky and stressed out, they have cardiac arrest and die there in the water. So the deadliest place in Florida for rip currents is actually in the panhandle of Florida, near the area called Panama City Beach. So last year, over 30 people died just to rip currents alone, just in that one area. So if you ever feel like you're out there in the ocean and you feel like you can't actively swim back to shore, that the water's pulling you out and you can't outswim it, pro tip is to swim sideways towards the edge of the water, to swim horizontal, and it helps you get out of the rip current way easier than if you're just trying to outswim it, because pro tip, you're never going to outswim the riptide itself. Another house for sale right behind me. Beautiful house right there on the water. If you're interested, here's my contact information. Reach out and we can see what we can make work for you. Now, number 5, and the absolutely scariest way to die, even a lot of Florida natives don't even know, it's going to be the flesh-eating bacteria. Now, I've asked a lot of people here, even in Boca Raton, Miami, about this bacteria, and the natives, locals here, don't even know about it. So I was at the beach one day down in South Florida, and they actually had a sign that the beach was closed. And I was like, the beach is closed? And the city officials had to close the beach because there was too high of a level of flesh-eating bacteria. Now, if this is new for you, it was actually new for me. So if this is actually new for you, it was actually new for me as well, because I lived in Florida all my life, but down here in the South Florida area on the East and West Coast, they'll have incidents of this flesh-eating bacteria. And here's a little clip to get to understand what this bacteria is actually like.
It certainly is, Jen. Good evening to you. You know, that woman is issuing a warning tonight for anyone who enjoys our Bay Area beaches to be careful. Leanne Thibodeau never thought it would happen to her. A flesh-eating bacteria found in her foot. But Leanne tells us she spent her 4th of July holiday in a hospital after visiting what she calls her favorite place in the world, the beach. Leanne says she wanted to try a new spot, so she visited Minnesota Beach, just south of Venice, for the first time. She never thought this tiny hole from a cut would be a problem. In fact, it had a scab on it and was already healing before she ever got in the water. But that's all it took. Within days, her foot was so swollen and in so much pain, she couldn't walk. She says doctors at Port Charlotte's Bayfront Health diagnosed her as having flesh-eating bacteria, also known as necrotizing fasciitis. They quickly performed surgery to remove part of her foot. She issued this warning to people, saying in part, "Be careful, my friends. I had a scab on my foot. Didn't think anything of it. It became infected and swollen. I joked about it for 3 days. Guess you shouldn't joke." So with that being said, I'm warning all my friends from Sarasota to Port Charlotte, be careful.
So as you saw, the lady got into the water, had no idea about the bacteria. It got to her foot and it was so bad, they had to remove part of her foot. And there's absolutely nothing they can do about it at the hospital besides removing part of her foot. And I personally think that is absolutely insane. And all the people I've actively asked about this flesh-eating bacteria had no idea about this, didn't know anything about it. So I think the lack of awareness about this makes it the scariest. And it's when you don't even know what's out there. It's not even a shark in the water. It's not even something you can see. It can cause you to lose a limb, and it actually killed. And what makes this even scarier is that it's actually killed over 100 people in a year, and actively nobody knows about it. Put in perspective, Hurricane Ian came, killed about 100 people. Now this flesh-eating bacteria is killing 100 people a year, and nobody's talking about this. Can we please gain awareness of this flesh-eating bacteria here in the waters in Florida? Because absolutely nobody's talking about it. And obviously the public is not aware about it, because even the locals don't even know about this bacteria. Can we please get some more awareness about this? Now, number 6 most Floridian way to die is actually of skin cancer. So Florida ranks number 2 in the entire country of incidence of skin cancer. And a study has shown that high school students in the state of Florida who are exposed to the sun, studies have shown 9 out of 10 don't even wear sunscreen at all. And this is made drastically worse in our state because we do have an older population who loves relocating down here to our state for the beautiful weather and the sunny days like it is today. And unfortunately, they're on a lot of medications such as antibiotics, and other routine medications can actually make you more sensitive to the sun itself. So they come down here, they're enjoying the weather, and they're having a beautiful day, and all of a sudden they go to their dermatologist and like, hey, this is melanoma. And it causes this very scary event in their lives that they have to deal with, having this removed, going through treatments. And it's not just older people. Pretty much everybody my age who's a millennial, Gen X, has been exposed to all this advertisement about getting on Retin-A or tretinoin creams. Now, if you didn't know anything about these tretinoin creams, these medications that you put on your face make you drastically more sensitive to the sun. So wearing sunscreen every single day becomes even more and more important if you're putting Retin-A or tretinoin on your face. So being in the healthcare profession, I did a lot of research on a lot of products. And if you see these videos, I'm walking out here every single day and I'm sweating. And because of the sweat itself, a lot of the sunscreen doesn't stick well and I end up burning my face. So I tried all the big box brands that you can get from Target and the drugstores and whatnot, and it just wasn't working for my face walking out here for these videos. I kept getting these little sunburns on my cheeks and forehead and whatnot. So I went through a lot of brands of sunscreen until I found this one particular brand called Super Goop. It's actually a very weird name, but when I filmed these videos, I started using this particular one because they have a lot of sunscreens that are resistant to sweating. As you can see in this video, I'm sweating a lot. I'm doing a lot of walking out here. It'll be great, say if you're even playing tennis, pickleball, golfing. The products they have over 40 different types of sunscreen for all different skin types and activities that you may be doing. But after trying all these different brands, I did discover that Supergoop was actually the best one for me. It had the best effect. It didn't rub off. See, I'm sweating a lot. It didn't fall off. It's comfortable. It's not too heavy. It blends in well with my skin tone because, again, they have all these different varieties and they use high quality ingredients. So I don't have any skin irritations. Again, if you have tretinoin on your face, it makes your skin way sensitive to other types of products you may apply. So this particular brand uses high quality ingredients in its mixtures. So I don't have any irritation on my face mixing with any other type of moisturizers or cleansers. Now, if you want to save a lot of time and hassle trying out different sunscreens, especially if you're moving down here to the state of Florida and you want to try out this brand that particularly worked well for me, down below in the description, I'll put a link. If you do use the link, it does support the channel. So I just want you to be aware of that. But of all the sunscreen that I've tried, Supergoop has been the best one by far. And it's what I'm wearing now. It's what I've been wearing on my previous videos with good results to my skin and no real irritation and pretty good protection. Even though I'm sweating, I'm going to the beach, I'm working out, now playing pickleball, no matter what I'm doing, it doesn't fall off and I don't get burned like I would using some of these other sunscreens that just kind of weep off and don't work as effectively. Now, number 7 most Floridian way to die is actually going to be one of our famous roads down here. It's going to be I-95. Again, Interstate 95. This road is absolutely insane. If you've never driven on this road, you probably hear a lot in videos and people talking about how bad the traffic is down here in South Florida. But I-95 tends to be probably one of the worst roads I've ever encountered in my entire life. I don't know any other major highway in the entire country that regularly has to be evacuated during major rainstorms. I-95 regularly during heavy storms has certain spots that have to be evacuated, closed off, and it causes all these massive detours into an area that's already flooded. So no matter where you go, cars are getting stranded left and right. And this causes a lot of car wrecks because people don't know where to go. They don't know how to read the signs and they start panicking. And the entire situation even gets worse when you include the people who drive on I-95. Again, just living down here for a few years, I've personally witnessed cops going after people on I-95. I have witnessed people driving extremely erratically, getting away from authorities, police, for whatever reason. I've never experienced this in anywhere else where I live, where it's so common, where everything seems like Grand Theft Auto, the video game. And it's not uncommon for, say if something happens, you have a flat tire. Normally on highways, you'll pull over and a company will come out and help you. But I-95 has become so dangerous. People are actively scared to helping other people on the actual highway. And I personally heard stories from officers who are even scared to pull people over because they don't want to pull people over on the actual interstate due to the amount of times that accidents have occurred during a stop. It's not uncommon for somebody to pull over on the side of the road. Next thing you realize that another car hits the car randomly, and it's happened so many times. There was this very sad story that I wanted to share of a paramedic who saw an accident. She witnessed an accident or something. She saw it. She pulled over to provide CPR to the people who needed it most. She was a hero. She was just getting off from work and she saw something. She was trying to be a good Samaritan. Again, remember, she's on the side of the road. Randomly, another vehicle just slams into these people who are on the side of the road, probably because they're not paying attention or they're just driving so erratically, and unfortunately took the life of this healthcare worker. And to me, this is just a sad story. You see it over and over where if I know I'm going to get a flat tire or something, I would actively try to get off that road as soon as possible and never pull over on this road. And I've never seen a road where it's so common if things are slow, people will get on the roof, they'll get out of their cars, and they'll do all this craziness. Again, probably a lot of these people are tourists who are getting on top of their roofs, but just because you come down here to South Florida and you see one person getting on their roof doesn't mean that this should be a trend where you're getting on your roof to dance. I've never seen this in any other part of the country, and it shouldn't be normalized here. We should definitely make it where if you get somebody on video with this, we should actively find who these people are and stop this trend of dancing on cars and acting like a fool in our state. I digress. So either way, if you like content about learning about moving to Florida and unique things about moving here, especially to Boca Raton, where I actively work as a real estate agent, like and subscribe to this video, give me a thumbs up, support the channel. And other than that, I hope you have a beautiful day and take care.